This is what happens when Iowa doesn't force turnovers. What's going on, everybody? Big Ten Ted. Purdue! Yes, Purdue is the one that knocks off Iowa. And here's the deal. Beginning of the season, Indiana game. Iowa forces a lot of turnovers and they have a great game. I come on and I do the Iowa-Indiana recap and I say, well, that's great. Iowa's really good. No question about that. But this isn't sustainable, right? You can't force 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers, short fields, defensive touchdowns. You can't do that every week, right? And then they do it the next week. And then they do it against Iowa State. And then they do it against Penn State. And then they knock out quarterbacks. And this Iowa defense becomes the unicorn of college football. And then all of a sudden, a team doesn't get their quarterback knocked out of the game. And then all of a sudden, a team doesn't commit turnovers. And they're smart with the football. And that team was the Purdue Boilermakers. I didn't think that this was a Purdue team that could pull this upset. Even without Riley Moss on the defensive side of the football for the Iowa Hawkeyes, I still thought Iowa could control this game. Still thought they were good enough to slow down this Purdue offense. But since Aiden O'Connell has taken over the majority of the snaps for Purdue at the quarterback position, he's been throwing the ball pretty well. Jack Plummer kind of started the season as the guy, and now they're rolling out with Burton in there as well. They're rolling out 3 quarterbacks that can all do very different things, keeps defenses off balance. Right, you throw Burton in there, he can run the ball, but then maybe he throws the ball, and Plummer, and then Aiden O'Connell is most of the time their passer, but then he was able to get in for a rushing touchdown. They were able to keep Iowa's defense off balance for most of this ball game. And David Bell, holy crap, is he the best receiver in the Big Ten? I think outside of that Ohio State duo, he's definitely the best receiver in the Big Ten, and you might even consider it with Wilson and Olave at Ohio State as the best receiver in the conference. What he was able to do, him and O'Connell picking apart this Iowa defense, boy, Iowa's got to go back to the drawing board, because if you can't get turnovers, if you can't get short fields, is this going to happen? Are these types of results going to continue to happen if you face off against good defenses? And give credit to Purdue, that's a good defense over there. If these things continue to happen, and if Iowa runs into these types of performances where they can't create turnovers and they can't create short fields, are they going to be able to continue to win football games down the road at Wisconsin on Halloween weekend? Look, Wisconsin is not good offensively, but defensively, that's one of the best defenses in the conference. And we saw what Purdue was able to do. I think Wisconsin's a better defense than Purdue. If you're an Iowa fan, and I know there's a lot of you out there, if you're an Iowa fan, you got to say, we need offense. Look, it's 2021. Teams score points. You have to score points to win ball games. Iowa can't depend on that defense. Maybe they were depending on that defense too much this season. You saw when the defense can't create good situations for the offense, this is what happens. And then I think we finally saw what Iowa's offense can really do. If they've got to go the length of the field each time they get the football, they can't move it. They can't move it against a solid defense. That's exactly what we saw on Saturday. Now, where do we go from here, right? Purdue is now 4-2. And Purdue's in the thick of it, just like Minnesota, as I said in the earlier reaction video. Purdue's in the thick of it. If they want it, they can go out and get it in the Big Ten West. They now have got the head-to-head victory over Iowa. What this Saturday, I think, kind of taught me is the Big Ten is a lot deeper than we thought. It is a lot deeper. Now, some people nationally might say, well, Iowa got knocked off. Michigan State almost got knocked off. You got good teams that aren't playing super well right now. But I look at that the other way and I think, look at this depth of this conference. There's teams right now that aren't ranked, that aren't considered to be great teams, but this is still a good conference because of the depth. It is extremely difficult each and every single week to get by with a cakewalk. And we saw that in this matchup with Purdue. Can Purdue go out and win the West? I don't think they're that talented, but the West is going to be awfully fun to watch coming down the stretch. I think the West is wide open. When you factor in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Purdue and Iowa, all those teams, they're in the thick of it. They can all go out and win the division. And if Iowa can't get this type of offense going, you take out a 32-yard run from Tyler Goodson. This running game was shut down for most of the day. Spencer Petras turned it over 4 times. I mean, if Iowa can't get things going offensively, the West is wide open, considering where things are at right now at the halfway point. You know, for Iowa, if you can't run the ball and you rely on Spencer Petras, I honestly believe right now he can't go and win you a football game. Spencer Petras can't do it. He proved that. We've seen it. Exhibit A, right in the courtroom, right here against Purdue. Iowa's got a lot of work to do. Because if their defense can't do stuff for them, if they can't do half of the offense's job, then they're in a real conundrum right now. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Is Purdue a threat in the West? Can they do it? Can they sling it against the rest of their schedule? We'll see. And Iowa, how much are they in trouble right now? They got to go to Wisconsin on Halloween weekend, Nebraska, the last game of the season, and they got to play Minnesota. Maybe that's a tough game now. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Big Ten Ted for Big Ten football content. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.